Non. Allez, allez. Okay. So, everyone, greetings, everyone, and salutations. My name is Colin McLean. I'm not just the COO, but I'm also a co-founder for Fred, My AI Pathways. I'd like to welcome you here to this great event. And thank you all for taking the time out to share in our launch. So before we continue, let me progress and do the land acknowledgements. Take a moment of silence. Now, we're here on the traditional lands of unsurrendered territories of the Anishinaabe, Algonquin people. The Algonquin people have inhabited and cared for these lands since the dawns of time. We're always indebted to all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people with whom we share in this land. We take this time to express our gratitude and respect to them and to the land on which it's been provided and will be continued to be provided. Let us take a moment to acknowledge the importance of the land in which we all call home. We do this to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility to improve relationships between nations and improving our own understanding of Indigenous people and their cultures. Let us take a moment to consider how we can, each in our own ways, move forward in a spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. While we recognize that territorial acknowledgement are only one step in cultivating great respect for those inclusions of Indigenous peoples, we are dedicated to building a future and community that's better for all. Thank you. Okay, so next up, we have my good friend, the founder and CEO, Claudius. As I say in Price is Right, Claudius, come on down. Give him a hand. And one fun fact I can share about Claudius is he won the 2021 Mentor of the Year award. Now, Claudius has always been mentoring, and he's phenomenal. So take it away, Claudius. Here's the clicker. Just watches me. Greens go for it. Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for being here. This has been a very, very, very exciting journey that is actually a year in the making. I've known Colin for over 5 years, and May last year, I said, I need you to come with me on this project because I think I run, and I need Colin to say, okay, check this, check this, check this, check this. It's a nice balance. So thank you. So I want to actually just give an opening as to why Fred? How did we get here? Hopefully my message is going to resonate with you. For this event, I would like to give some thank you to some of our sponsors, and I apologize to one of our very major sponsors that I left out here, and I'm going to say the name out loud. The Africa Development Network is one of my big sponsor and follower of Fred. And the two gentlemen are out there at the back, very important people in my life. Thank you, Franklin Ipape, and thank you, Mr. Mise, for all your support. You'll hear from Invest Ottawa about Area EXO. Area EXO is a very important project that is particular to what we're about, because there is agriculture, experimental farming that is taking place that you need to be aware of. The Canadian Black Farmers Association, I don't know how many of you have heard about it, but it's an important organization that we're linking up with to actually front as our advocate for policy development, for research, and communication with the government to help us be able to acquire more agricultural land and get favorable and understanding of our needs to grow and make our food available. And of course, also, we have Alternate Savings, who I'm very, very pleased. There's so many banks in Canada. Canada has its unique banking systems and ways, but every so often, there's a bank that is prepared to listen. And that's how I would like to describe Alternate Savings. So please go to them. We have representatives here. They know how to listen. Okay? And finally, African Canadian Association of Ottawa. Also have, yes, they were back there with the table. Fantastic organization, helping immigrants coming from the continent of Africa to settle in Canada, training them, helping them integrate into the society, doing youth employment opportunities. And the volunteers we have at the front there, we're helping with the registration, actually come from that, from ECA organization, and they also help to sponsor today's event. Thank you very much. So, who recognizes these? Do you like to eat that? Is that what it should look like? Do you eat that? No, you don't. You go to the store and you take it home and you cut it and you start to dig out and dig out and dig out because it doesn't look good, right? Because that's not how it looks back home. So that's what you get in the store. You eat it and then you're sick, and what's the cure? Medication. And how do they advertise medication? If you feel this or you feel that, go see your doctor. In other words, you eat the bad food, take the medicine to fix you, and the medicine then kills you. Whew, what a challenge. So let me talk about going from that place to coming to where we're heading with Fred. I had the misfortune of being diagnosed with an illness, and in time, through the journey I went, I was able to place a lot of it on food. Part of that journey was that I actually spent 9 months in Jamaica, living on the countryside, top of the hills, property with 2-acre lot of everything I could eat off the land. I lost over 60 pounds in weight because the medication I was given bloated me up. And that's why I left and went over there and ate fresh, walked up the hills, back and down and everything. Eventually, I was able to do so without breathing heavily, eating fresh, uncured meat. All my chicken was actually roaming free in the land. And then before 6 o'clock, you have to make sure you get them in because, what do you call them? The big birds. You see the shadows coming, so you have to get them, the falcons. The hawks start, hunting for your chicken. And in that process, I was very, very studious, so much so that my doctor called me a champion because he couldn't believe when I kept sending him my charts where I'm checking my sugar, I'm recording what I'm eating, and I said, look, it's easy. I see the result. I don't need you telling me what to do. So I started cutting this out, cutting that out, cutting that out. But it's tough. It's tough. So then eventually then you start to learn, okay, how do you eat? What do you eat? And certainly some of the things, the difficult part that came was portion size. I had to learn to eat less. I had to learn to eat less frequently. So now, after 9 months, it was time to come back to Canada. What am I going to eat when I get back? Was the obvious question I asked. What am I going to eat? The result that actually happened, the outcome was I had to make a decision as to where I shopped for my groceries, which means that I don't go on flyers for deals. I have to go and buy premium. I got to know that fresh groceries arrive on Tuesday. So it's Tuesday that I shop and pay premium. By Friday, it's discounted. Doesn't work. So now the alternative to those bad food that I showed is really what it should look like. You know, there's a chicken roaming free. You know, they're eating worms because that's what actually they live off. And solutions like that's what bananas should look like, not when you go in the grocery store and it's green for you to take home and wait for it to turn yellow. No, it's not the same. It tastes differently when you actually get it off the tree. So we're going to hear from some of our presenters today on wonderful solutions that are being developed so that we can actually have those foods made, grown, farmed here in Canada. So thank you, Canada, for making those options available to us. So what are some of the challenges we face? We want authentically tasting food. We want it locally grown. We want farmers or people who identify themselves as farmers, where they're coming from, to be able to provide, to be in the economy, to contribute to the economy. I got here with an Uber, and the driver was an IT engineer from Dubai. Said he can't get to work. When he heard what I was doing as we were talking, he asked me if I've got a job for him. Yeah. So as we get to Fred, we'll see that one of the challenge we're looking to resolve is to be able to go from farm to table. So we have that concept already where you want processed cooked food, you go to Uber, they send you something. Or now the grocery stores are also now saying you can order, but they're still going to take from their shelves what has come from Mexico, from wheresoever that distance is. It's still the same thing. Farm to table should really be you order off your phone, the farmer digs it out of the ground and get it to you, to your table. So the 3 pillars of Fred is that we're looking at the consumer side, who wants fresh, sustainable produce. Quotes on the word organic, but you know, genuine. So it's a genuine organic produce, low cost because if you're not going through the huge distribution centers, the huge supermarkets, from farm to table, it's low cost by default, and it's fresh. For the farmers, we did a lot of market research. We worked with universities, Concordia, Schulich Business School, University of Toronto. We did a lot of research, and we found that farmers pay $6,000 per stock item. So for a farmer to get their produce to a supermarket, they have to pay that amount of money. So we are providing, Fred eliminates that. Okay? So that immediately hits the bottom line to help them to be profitable. And a third pillar is that for the whole concept and business to scale, we need investors. We have to have access to more agricultural land. To acquire those land, whether by purchase or by lease, we need funders who are prepared to actually, help us. And again, in the calculation that we did, we say that there is actually an 11% return on investment by investing in agriculture. So to summarize, we're looking to have authentic taste, contribution to health and wellness. By eating good food, costs the country less in healthcare. Does government know that? Yeah. I say access to culture. We travel on vacation. We go and we say, oh, we like this food. I mean, so many of us now go to so many different countries, Costa Rica, Jamaica. We come back, we're excited about jerk food and everything. What if we actually have a greater access to it here, how it's done? And here's an interesting story, actually. I reference Jamaica a lot because I'm very familiar with it. If I say to you that one of the best things you can do for any Jamaican youth, kid, adults, when you're there, say, oh, come, let me take you to KFC. They're so excited. You come from here, you want to eat KFC. The taste is the same, but you know what's different? The chicken. We can't eat it here because it's battery farmed. The chicken is different. So there's so many different cultural ways of doing things and cooking. I'm particularly very interested in, like, wow, I go somewhere, I want to taste Ethiopian food. I want to taste something from Eritrea. Sador took me to an event one time. I was so excited. I couldn't wait for them to open up the table so we can start eating. It was great. And of course, by enabling the farmers, immigrant farmers, to be able to contribute to start farming, they also will be contributing to the wealth of Canada, to the economic development of Canada. We cannot forget that, creating jobs. And also, we must do it because we can. Thank you.
Wow, that was really beautiful. Thank you, Claudius. Much appreciated on that. Next, we're going to move on to, is Toyin available? Has Toyin logged on yet? Because fortunately, Toyin's stuck in BC, and she's not able to make it at this time. So do you know if Toyin's in there? Okay. So we're going to just progress on to the next one. Now, Susan Cork, I got to thank you so much for making this possible. She's from Investment Ottawa, and she's going to give her thanks. But we could not have done this without you. You've made it a fabulous event. Thank you for your support. Come on down, Susan. Give her a round of applause.
Thank you very much. Well, I'll accept that on behalf of Invest Ottawa. I don't know if personally I can take all of that credit, but thank you very, very much. I'm delighted actually to be here. Thank you, Claudius and team for giving us the opportunity to come here and address the group. I'm the Business Development Director at Area X.O. So I'll tell you a little bit about what our facility is all about. We are wholly owned and operated by Invest Ottawa, which of course is the economic development agency here for the National Capital Region, focused primarily on technology. Because of course, in this region, we have a lot of technology companies. We're a very technology-rich environment. So several years ago, Invest Ottawa realized that in order to support innovators and entrepreneurs that were developing new technologies, they needed a place to safely test and develop those technologies, to bring them to market, to meet with investors, to have an opportunity to share what they were working on in a safe and secure way. So they created Area X.O, which is basically located in the heart of the city. We're located on the Greenbelt Research Farm, for those of you that are familiar with the city, it's a 2,000-acre parcel of land that's right across from the Nepean Sportsplex. So Hunt Club on one side, Fallow Field on the other, Greenbank and Woodruff. That's the parcel of land. And originally, the property, the Greenbelt Research Farm, was established by Agriculture Canada probably about 40 years ago. And the purpose of the site back in those days was for animal disease research, primarily animal vaccine research. And when it was no longer required for that purpose, they passed the land over to the National Capital Commission, which are stewards of all federal properties. And from that point forward, probably about 30 years ago, the National Capital Commission became the landlord of that particular property. And Area X.O leases about 90 acres of that 2,000-acre parcel for the facility called Area X.O. And when it was originally developed, we started small. We started focused only on autonomous vehicle technologies. And so when we started the site, we worked together with a number of founding partners, Nokia and Ericsson, because we run a very sophisticated 4G and 5G network on the site. We're licensed to operate our network directly from the Government of Canada, so we don't work with Bell or TELUS or any of the companies like that. We have complete control over our network, and that allowed us to work with companies developing 4G and 5G technologies for autonomous vehicles. And we have 16 kilometers of roadways on the site with traffic lights and stop signs. I mean, it kind of looks like a cityscape, except there's no one there, no traffic, which is great. But we have all the potholes, so we're exactly like everything else in the city of Ottawa with our friendly potholes. So anyway, we started the site for autonomous vehicle testing, which we still do. And then over time, because we're located on a farm, we started looking around us and realized that, you know, technology is just as relevant in farming. And so we started what we call the Innovation Farm, and that's the program that I run at Area X.O. I'm thrilled and delighted to have the opportunity to run that program. And I also run the advanced robotics program. So we bring those two things together. And a lot of the work that we're doing is supporting innovators that are developing technologies in robotics for things like weeding, which no one enjoys doing. And so why not give that job to a robot? The interesting thing, though, is, you know, the robots need to understand what's a weed, what's a plant. And so opens the door to opportunities like developing AI for weed recognition. And then you have opportunities to develop technologies for how do you extract the weed. So we have innovators developing all kinds of things from, you know, mechanical arms that can pick the weed to things that could potentially laser zap the weed to electrocuting the weed with current, a variety of different things. So I guess what I'm trying to say is the purpose of the site is to support innovators and entrepreneurs that are developing cool new technology that's relevant in the agriculture space. So it's not just robots. There are some biological developments that are being made, things that are, you know, seed enhancements. There are different things that make the seeds more resistant to pests, all sorts of things like that. And so we offer space at the farm for those innovators to do their testing. We collaborate with local farmers that will come in and plant the various properties that we have, and then work together with the innovators and give them an opportunity to test their technologies. And then we have farm days throughout the summer. So one in July, one in August, and then our big event, GC Expo, which will be happening in September, and it's well advertised. So I encourage you all, if you don't get a chance to come in the July and August farm days, you can come in for GC Expo. And we invite the farming community at that time to come to the site to interact with the innovators that are testing on the site, and to interact with one another to determine if there's anything of interest that they might want to pilot on their own farms, or things that they might be interested in working on themselves. Potentially they have an innovative idea that they want to share with somebody, and potentially that could be a new project that comes to the site. So the entire purpose of the Innovation Farm is to create a space where the farming community can interact with innovators, where the innovators can have a safe space to continue to develop their technologies. You know, autonomous robots need a place to be tested. they don't just work typically right out of the box. There's a lot of testing that takes place. Normally, a lot of the experimentation that we do takes a couple of years. The first year to kind of figure out, how it's going to work, and then you continue to add to it and innovate with it over the course of the next couple of years. A lot of the projects are 2 or 3 years long. We're funded through a number of sources. So Invest Ottawa is a not-for-profit. We don't have our own funding, so we will work with different government organizations that can provide funding through different programs. And then also innovators will bring their own funding. So you can apply to, Agriculture Canada's Agri-Innovate program. They provide funding there, a number of other funders, depending on what you're working on. If you're developing AI, CenGen has funding. There's a number of different programs that you can apply to. We typically don't apply for the funding ourselves. It's normally the innovator that applies for the funding, and then they come to AreaX.O and do the actual experimentation and testing. And all the assets that we have available on the site, our network, access to our engineers, access to the robots that we have on site, the land, so on and so forth. We make those assets available to you when you come for your project. So we really hope that we'll have an opportunity to chat with those of you that are interested in either developing new technologies, testing technologies, potentially working with the innovators, or just interested in seeing what we're all about. So it's intended to be a community venture. So thank you very much for your time. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer a few of them before I head off stage. And questions? Oh, okay. My business cards, and you can get a hold of me that way, and Claudius knows how to get a hold of me as well. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much for your time.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Just allow some questions. Do you mind taking a couple of questions? Yeah. Many hands going up.
Okay, beautiful. Floor is yours.
Yes. Oh, well, yes. Yeah, we get that a lot. It's a very dynamic site. You just never know what you're going to see. We have military vehicles, drones, all sorts of things happening, not just the farm. So it depends on what it is that you're interested in working on. So if you're developing something new, or you're interested in taking advantage of new technologies, then you can come and have a tour of the site. Like we do the farm days, so I'll advertise them. So July, there'll be one, I think, targeting the 22nd of July, August around the 21st, but these will be publicized, so you'll be able to find out when they are, and come on to the site and have a look at what we're working on, and have a chat with some of the folks that are developing the innovations. And then if you've got an innovation that you would like to promote, or something that you'd like to take a look at, just to give you an example, we worked very closely with the University of Ottawa. There were a number of PhD students in the computer science and engineering group that did some work a couple of years ago, developing a predictive algorithm to predict greenhouse gas emission from the soil, depending on what you're planting and what you're doing. You just sort of plug in some numbers, and then the predictor told you how much greenhouse gas that your soil would be emitting based on those parameters. And then over time, continuing to work with them, he's now decided that he wants to create a company. So he just actually incorporated his company, and he's developing a planter that will essentially till and plant in one pass, as opposed to, having to go through all the tillage and then run over that ground again to do your planting. So he's building this particular machine, and he's going to be testing it on the site. And interestingly enough, this particular piece of equipment is destined for the Congo, because there's a farm there that's several hundred hectares that is interested in that technology. So those are the types of things that happen on the site. So if you have an idea that you'd like to develop, or you're interested in seeing some of the ideas that you might want to test on your farm, that's really what we're all about. Yeah.
We have room for just one more question. Quick, got that train rolling.
I could stay all day, but evidently I'm not allowed to.
Thanks, Todd. Any more questions?
If anything comes up and you're interested in asking a question, Claudius knows how to get a hold of me. Send me an email, and we can start a dialogue. Do come to the farm days, or certainly to GC Expo. We open the entire site on that day. It's an amazing event, and I think Claudius is interested in being there this year. So, okay,
Definitely be there.
awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thanks very much.
Thanks. Well, as I always say, with every great opportunity in life, it all starts with a conversation. So keep her close. We have Toyin on the call right now. She's in Vancouver, but she want to be fully present. So we're going to give her some space to come on now. Can you, Matt, do you have her? All right. Toyin's he. So I do apologize. I never met Toyin. So Toyin, are you there?
Yeah, I'm
Wonderful.
here. I'm here.
Welcome.
On camera now.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you very
Floor is
much. Yes, thank you for having me here, Claudius. It was nice meeting you over the Zoom. My name is TK Ajayi. I am the founder of Canadian Black Farmers Association. We are all across, we operate all across Canada. Our mission is to, break down the barrier of, having more Black people into agricultural sector. Myself, I'll give a little bit of myself. I've been in Canada for over 24 years, and I've been farming in Canada for 23 years. For all that year, I come to realize that the industry really don't have currently now the whole Black people in the agricultural sector in Canada, we are like 0.02%. Even many of our lately, after I created the Canadian Black Farmer, I realized that some people they have farm, but they still don't know how to access a lot of opportunity that goes with that farming and all other resources that are available for farmers. So for me, coming into the industry, I see it's a lot of people that they they want to, but because of land access and all other things, and looking at the industry because there's no much, you can't see any, can't like where I am. It took me. I don't think I've actually seen any Black person who owns a farm right now in BC until maybe 2 years ago or last year. Somebody was trying to lease somewhere. And I saw that the way these things are going, there's no reason why we can't be in the industry. So I started going to looking at different things about what will really benefit our community. So all those things kind of like came together to me. So farming in the industry for so long, understanding the system, knowing how the ins and outs, gave me a little bit idea about how it can also benefit the people in the Black community. So I started for the past 15 years. I started talking to people. Sometimes I'll bring them to the farm. So which my first job on the farm is ranching. I always ride the horses, run with the cows, get them off the field. Then I started going dairy farming. So all those life that I've lived on the farm kind of prepared me to when I finally decided to go fully into trying to empower and educate more of the people in the Black community. Although farming is a passion, you can't just say you're gonna wake up one day you're gonna be a farmer. Farming is a lot of work. I got that from 5 years of age when I was when I started going to the farm back in Nigeria with my grandfather, and that kind of like gave me a little head start. And since then, I've been kind of feel like maybe I'm born to be a farmer. So that farming opportunity from my early age kind of helped me to today to be able to uh, put my foot on the ground and to be able to face a lot of challenges that I have faced, I have met during this whole journey. So right now, for the past 6 years, I just decided to focus on strictly African foods, culturally preferred foods. So, with all my experience in Canada for over 23 years, understanding the system, seeing how the system is, and seeing the opportunity that I see that many of people in the Black community cannot see, that is one of the things that motivated me. I said, you know what? I have benefited for the agricultural sector in this country. I'm going to try and do something to see if it's to let our people in the Black community in order to use to be able to empower them and get them started and bring them into the agricultural industry. So that is why I started the Canadian Black Farmers. And before Canadian Black Farmers, I have a Karakata Africa Village, which a property I purchased like an hour and a half out of the city, just for me to be able to find a location whereby I can turn to like experimental ground for our culturally preferred food, mostly like a tropical food, crops and vegetables. So that is what I've been doing for the past 6 years. And then after 2, 3 years, I realized that this is working. I started with practically not using any technology, not using any fertilizer. I was just using my goat herd manures to fertilize the soil. So I started working on the soil, coming up with different ideas, trying to practice very practical, organic form of agriculture, like what I've learned from my grandfather. So I started looking for a way to make the soil that will work perfectly for the tropical crops and vegetables. So I end up creating loamy soil. So that loamy soil, after 2 years of trying to experiment different crops or maybe like okra or all other things, and now in my property, I realized that without that type of soil, with the natural nutrients that I got from the manure from my goats that I mix with the soil, it's actually gonna without that it will be very, very difficult. But the moment I started using the manures and everything, bringing silt, sand, and clay together, all everything I've been trying to do before, growing before, like yam, like cassava, like all kind of different ones, I started seeing results like water yam, even cocoa yam. So all those things that people would not think is possible, I just started trying. I guess I may be lucky because I'm in BC. We have 5 full months in BC to grow anything tropical because of our weather. So I guess that's why a lot of those success came by too. So from there, it grew. I ended up founding Canadian Black Farmer 2 years ago, almost 3 years now. And then from there, the purpose of that is to use it in such a way to be able to empower many people in our community, which has been my long time. From all the years I've been farming in Canada, I've had a plan, but things kind of fall into place. And then I created the organization. So the organization now is being supported fully by the Agri Canada, which is Agri Diversity. They've been really supporting us, and a lot of different big name funders. They come to our aid. They've been supporting us, and it's been growing. So lately now, in the past 3 years, I've also been, I mean, 2 years, I've become like working on how can I get more people because we'll be trying. I've approached the government, all levels of government. I have direct access to the federal minister, provincial, and everyone. I have tried everything possible because of the land access, which is the major barrier for anybody in the Black community to get into agriculture, which is for everybody, anyways. So that it looks like it's very difficult, not something that is easy like that. Then I started getting more different people, like investors involved. Me being an entrepreneur, getting some more investors, and one or two or three. So trying to bring people together, combine buying. Let's use it. We have to take over our own food sovereignty, our own food system, because Most of the food that is in the West makes majority of people in the Black African Caribbean community, especially the Africans, make them they it creates kind of like health issues for most people in our community, which I've seen. So, but growing our culturally preferred food here, it can it's something that it's a no-brainer. So, but because of the weather, most people think it's not possible. So now that I've shown that it's possible, a lot of people are coming on board. And I remember one day when I was talking with the federal minister, I said, for agriculture, I said, do you know 90 to 95% of the food that most Africans eat in Canada, 90 to 95 of the food still come from our country of origin. They were like, what? I said, yes. I said, that's why I'm trying to push this program. If it's 10% to 20% of our crops and vegetables we can grow in Canada, that will be a very big game changer. And most of those who want to bring it to Canada, half of them sometimes is unedible. It's not well like preserved. So most of the time, the importers will just lose the money because the custom will not let it enter Canada, Food and Security Canada. They won't let it in. So all those things is what kind of came together why I formed the Canadian Black Farmer. So lately now, we're now doing goat banking. I came up with goat banking because I see that a lot of people cannot access the land or whatever. I said, okay, what other way I can use to get people involved? So that's why I came up with the concept of goat banking. The goat banking is to give everybody opportunity, to give them a head start in the agricultural sector. Within 5 years, you know, you can almost literally have a whole herd, a whole full herd, and you can start just to get them started in a smaller way with the resources I have and with other resources that we just got to get people more involved. So that is another thing that we're doing now, which a lot of people really loved. And we've also created like where I'm trying to train a lot of our people how to actually use their agriculture. Many of our people actually did agriculture back home, but because of the land and the system, it's kind of a barrier for them. So breaking down those barriers, letting them see the opportunity in it, and giving them the hope and confidence that it's doable. It's what we've been doing, and so far so good. It's been great. Yeah, that is something about me, and that's what I've been doing, and it's been growing and growing, and we have different members all across Canada.
So what I'm taking from your message is you don't have to be great to get started, but you have to get started to become great. And that was through Les Brown, and it relates to farming and what we do. Thank you, Toyin, so much.
Thank
So
you very
next,
much.
we're going to transition. Now, we have a huge ecosystem. It's not just Claudius and I and a few people. We've got a wide ecosystem. And the next person on the list, she's joining us remotely, is Frosnard. Now, she's pretty much my agricultural hero because I've always wanted to get into hydroponics. And what I love about that is, fun fact about her is she actually created her own hydroponics in her own kitchen using recycled materials. And that just proves that it is possible to do this. So if it's possible, if you can dream it, you can definitely do it. And Frosnart's definitely doing that right now. So take it away. The floor is yours. So what I'll do is I'll just clip through your presentation. Just tell me next, and I've got you. Okay?
Okay. Thank you.
No worries.
Yeah, so I'm sorry that I couldn't join. I tried to get to Ottawa, but for some reason I missed my flight. So I'm gonna be doing this remotely. I wish I was there to be part of this, but it's okay. I'm still part of it anyway.
The point is you're here. I love it.
Yes. So my name is Fusinat Brahima. I'm the CEO and founder of Kangaroo Agri-Foods Inc. I'm standing here today as a business leader and as a community builder and as somebody who deeply understands what it means to create something from nothing. Today, we are launching Fred, and it's a major milestone. But before we talk about selling produce, we need to talk about who is being left behind in farming and how we are changing. Our story started as I watched an East African family growing amaranth beside their apartments and with no land. no title, no support, but what they were growing was a home, a taste of where they came from, a way to belong. And that was the seed that became Kangaroo. Because food is more than calories. Food is culture, healing, and freedom. Here is the truth. Newcomers, immigrants, and racialized communities bring farming wisdom, but the system, it shuts them out. They face no land infrastructure, no access to capital or training, no easy way to sell what they grew. Meanwhile, cultural food are missing from grocery shelves. They are not available in all season. Schools aren't teaching real world growing skills. Food insecurity keeps rising, especially in regionalized homes. You can go on the next slide, sorry.
Next slide. Okay. Take your lead, right? You got to guide
Yes.
me. Love it.
Yeah, I'm on the
Next
slide
slide.
4 now. Yeah, next slide.
Okay.
Yeah. So we saw this and we didn't wait for the system to change, but we built a new one. Slide 4. Here is what we know. Most of the people don't start with thousands in the bank. They don't have farmlands or business grants. They have hustle, wisdom, and resilience, and stories that the market doesn't recognize yet. So Kangaroo was built to meet them where they are. No gatekeeping, no jargon, no massive investments required. Next slide, please. Kangaroo Agri-Foods Inc. is more than a farm company. We are a movement wrapped in innovation. We design growing systems in all sizes for both tropical and non-tropical agriculture, from compact towers to full-scale vertical farms. We build soil-based systems for traditional growing, high-tech, no soil needed hydroponics and aeroponics system for urban farming, indoor and outdoor system that work across climates, cultures, and communities. But we don't just stop at equipment. We build farmpreneurs. We train communities and individuals to grow food year round. We understand nutrient science, run food businesses, sell locally and culturally relevant produce. We make farming a pathway to income, wellness, and generational growth. Next slide, please. Our ecosystem includes training programs for aspiring farmpreneurs, from absolute beginners to experienced growers. Our hydrogen growing system, self-watering, self-lightning, soil-free farm. Next slide, it's on the next slide. So we have our hydrogen systems, a self-watering, self-lightning soil farms for classrooms and communities. We have the Kangaroo ambassadors, leaders that grow, teach, and earn while in their communities. Farm consulting for schools, shelters, churches, urban spaces, and businesses. Community partnership with schools, cities, grocers, universities, and more. Kangaroo is a complete platform. We don't sell equipment, we build capacity. Next slide. Hydrogen system is the most accessible innovation, and that is the hydrogen over there. I started this hydrogen by myself in my kitchen, just trying to learn how hydroponics works, and that's how we came up with this. It's no soil needed, no land required, no farming background necessary, just water, light, and the will to grow. It's designed for seniors, apartment dwellers, educators, newcomer families, and community organization. And our lease to own model makes it affordable, even for those living from paycheck to paycheck. It's not charity, it's economic access through agri-tech. Next slide. Let's zoom out for a moment. 1 in 7 Canadian households is food insecure. Racialized communities face hunger. Climate change is threatening conventional farming. Cultural produce is disappearing. Kangaroo steps in as a scalable, science-based solution. We help people to grow more with less water, less space, and less waste. More dignified, more nutrition, and more self-sufficiency. We are part of the climate solution, the food sovereignty movement, and equity economy. Next slide. So far, we have over 100 systems deployed, hundreds of entrepreneurs trained, dozens of schools, churches, shelter, gardens built. Our partnership with stores and restaurants sourcing culturally relevant crops, collaborations with universities, educators, and city planners. And now with Fred, we are adding a final piece, a tool that helps our growers connect directly with retailers, customers, and community buyers. We teach the masses how to grow the food. Fred makes it easy for them to achieve success in selling their own produce. Next slide. Let me share what our growers say. I farmed back home. I never thought I could do it here. Now I run a micro farm in my basement. My son learned to grow herbs at school. He started asking for kale instead of chips. Kangaroo didn't just give me a system, they gave me confidence. This is what happened when you stop asking permission and start planting anyway. Next slide. So where do you come in? Become a Kangaroo ambassador. Lease an hydrogen system for your home or program. Start a farmpreneur class in your school or city. Use Fred as a tool to sell produce. Fund a family-first system. Partner with us to scale food justice. We are building the infrastructure for a new economy, new food economy. You can be part of it. Next slide. Food is grown locally. Income is generated equitably. Land is no longer the barrier. Farming is no longer reserved for the few. We are not waiting for permission. We are planting freedom, one system at a time. Next slide. At Kangaroo, we say, you can grow, we can grow together. This is not branding. This is a belief that farming is for everyone, innovation must be inclusive, future of food is not only fresh, it's fair. Next slide.
Okay, that's the last one, actually.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I just wanted to say thank you so much, because if you all can scan the QR code, if you can't see it online, don't worry, we'll send you contact information. This is exactly how you get a hold of Kangaroo. So scan the QR code, details are all there, and thank you for being present. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay? Take
And
care.
together we can grow together.
So next on the list, we have Janice. Now, Janice is like my sister from another mother. We have so much in common. And those who know me, I have a love of two things, food and community. And one fun fact, and this is exactly what I say, is food nourishes the soul. It fosters community and embodies love. Like, that's exactly what I believe in. So that's why we're so connected. Janice, come on down. Give her a hand.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me here, and thank you to our host this evening. I'm going to try and look at this screen in front of me, but I might tilt my head from time to time. My name is Janice Bartley, and I am the founder of Foodpreneur Lab, which was created in 2019 and transitioned to non-for-profit status in 2020. Foodpreneur Lab was created from identifying a gap from working in the industry as an entrepreneur for 3 decades, working in the hospitality and the culinary field, and also being a general manager in an accelerator incubator space for food, and recognizing the lack of representation in a space that I could not wrap my head around. And so I did some more due diligence, and I realized that there was an opportunity to help bring our ideas, our recipes, our identities, and really represent in the market. Um, So we are a Black-led non-for-profit focused on creating a more inclusive and equitable food ecosystem. Our mandate really is about access. And I think throughout this entire presentation, you've been hearing two words: access and barriers. And those are the realities of what we face day to day. And so my mission is to make sure I create more access and I remove barriers. That's my job. And so we work to empower underrepresented and racialized communities by really bringing cultural, meaningful food to the market. And how do we do that? The Canadian food ecosystem is probably by far one of the best, but it is extremely to navigate. You speak to any food entrepreneur, they will tell you the stories of, oh, I made this product and I put this label on, but when I went to, I'm not gonna name any specific places, but when I went to X, Y, and Z, I found out my labels did not meet Canadian Food Inspection Agency requirements. I did not have the testing. And so all that money that was spent in the raw inputs, the produce to make it, you now have to go and backtrack. And that normally comes to the tune of $5,000. So imagine you spent $5,000, you made a batch, and your potential client that you've envisioned is going to be your ideal customer says to you, great product, but we can't bring it in the store. And so this is where Foodpreneur Lab comes in. What we do is we help food entrepreneurs in the ideation stage. So if you have an idea, but you're not quite sure how to get it to prototype, that's where we come in. Or if you have an existing product, food product that you're working with and you're already in the market, but you're struggling to scale, in other words, you've been going to markets and you can't get beyond the market, we help you with that. And what I've learned through this is it has nothing to do with ability. It has to do with lack of information and access to information. And so I've made it my mandate to ensure that as a community, underrepresented and racialized, we all have access to that. Thank you. So in my journey, I always used to say, hey, what if one day we could go to a place where all the farmers live together and we could just press a button and say, hey, I need a bushel of callaloo or I need a box of red peppers. And voila, 5 years later, I meet Claudius, we start talking, and I'm invited to the table and Fred appears. And sometimes that's what they say, when you put your wishes out there, it appears. And so Claudius and I and a bunch of other partners, we've been talking and we said, okay, this is how we could collaborate. So my contribution to this event is really what's the impact that Fred has when it comes to consumer packaged goods? And that is, how do the farmers, what role do the farmers play? And it's an integral one. So as we know, Fred is the digital platform where collectively underrepresented farmers have a place where they can bring their produce, have awareness and a visibility. And we as value-added producers, the users, can now choose, as opposed to trying to figure out, where am I gonna get my hot peppers this week if I'm making a chili oil? Where am I gonna get my raw inputs? Because one of the problems we have in the food ecosystem when it comes to food entrepreneurs is inconsistency. We buy from one place this week, and we go back and the raw input isn't there, and so we have to find an alternative. And sometimes the alternative is not to the same standard, and so that is a customer letdown. That is a model for failure, and so we want to limit that. And so having that platform will help give consistency as well. So with Fred, we now have a source. We can actually go to all these farmers. We can now choose from the variety of products. We can be introduced to new products. And more importantly, we can now have engagement. And this is where Foodpreneur Lab comes in with regard to the consumer packaged goods. So what are the needs that Fred addresses? It reduces the sourcing costs because now value-added producers are not spending time running around trying to go to wholesalers, A1s, cash and carry stores. They can actually go to a farmer and say, hey, listen, this is what I need on a consistent basis. Can you supply that for me? We can actually have deliberate conversation, intentional conversations. It will help guarantee the supply chain. Now I know who I can go to get consistent product, or if I need to change my recipe, I can now have the conversations before I do anything else. Access to unique ingredients is extremely important because that is where a lot of the innovation happens as well. As food entrepreneurs develop products, they always looking for what else can I bring to market? Whether I'm using the same base and I'm adding something else to it to make it a little bit different, it's beneficial for any business. Any good business has more than one sales revenue stream. Increase product efficiencies, enhance brand reputation. The brand reputation is very important, especially in the food ecosystem, because every food entrepreneur, if you go to our website, we've been fortunate to support 200 Black food entrepreneurs. Thank you. Every food entrepreneur that has come through Foodpreneur Lab on our program has a marketing video online that they can now, thank you, and we have evidence here. Why is that important? It tells the brand story. It tells where the idea comes from. It tells about the familial and cultural history that's so important, and it connects with their consumers. And so that's, I always talk about relationships is what drives business, not necessarily the widget or the product that you're selling, it's how we engage with each other. And so being able to have that brand recognition, to be able to name a farmer in your Instagram, on your product, and blow that farmer up because of the amazing product that they have and it's organic, it doesn't get better than that. And so we have to look at who our customer base is. I talk about that a lot because it's not people that we are feeding today. It's 5 and 10 years from now. And I can tell you, we have the savviest teenagers out there that can tell you where it's produced, who's producing it, if there's child labor in law, and they can go down the list, okay? And here's the other piece. That is how they determine brand loyalty. So you have to check all those boxes because now there is actually food accountability. And so the other thing that we look at having Fred allows us to reduce transportation costs. The shorter the distance from farm to table, the healthier it is, okay? I was doing farm to table 15 years ago, 20 years ago when I was in the culinary field. And I was really taken aback where everybody was, oh, farm to table, it's a trend. And I'm like, no, it's not. When you grow it in the farm, you pick it up, you take it to the table. It's that simple. But I'm happy to see 15, 20 years now it is actually embedded in how we eat, where we source our food. And we're now paying more attention to how we eat and how healthily we're eating for our families, because that's extremely important. Improved product innovation. I saw that Area X, is it Area X? Area X is amazing. I love seeing that because having those accelerators, incubator styles allows us as a community to capacity build, to look on ways where we can innovate. And farmers, I would say, have been left out of that. We tend to skip to where we're getting the ingredients and then we get to the consumer packaged goods. And I always said we have to go back, but more importantly, here are why the farmers are important, especially for me. Our youth needs to understand there's an opportunity and there's innovation for them to participate in. And the longer we take to introduce them and get them on the farms and get them in the field, not necessarily to work the field, but to understand how integral the soil is, what makes good soil, what can you grow, how can you grow, and how can you innovate. And so they really need to be out there in the practical sense to see the possibilities that exist. And I say that because it's very important, because as a woman of color, when I go out and I speak to everybody, I have young people that are coming up to say, I like what you do, but I don't know how to get there. And it always comes back to lack of information. So as a community, we now have to start sharing access, sharing information, building on our network and saying, hey, you have an idea? This is where you go. You want to borrow some money? This is who I've dealt with. And so that builds the narrative and the support as well. Increased market access. We've done some amazing work. We have taken our food entrepreneurs to Restaurants Canada. This was our second year of the first Black Experience Pavilion. That was never done before. We had 80+ Black food created products. And so again, this is why we need the farmers. If we don't have you there that we can tap into, then it alters our ability to grow as well. And of course, the obvious, it brings stronger community ties. So the purpose of FRED really is to look at the cost savings that are going to be built around that, because it does have an impact. So if you are making a product, you know directly if you can go directly to your farmer, that's a cost saving and one less headache. Improved accessibility, the more selection that you have. Inclusivity, it is representative. I think somebody was Fuzinat before that was saying, as we're going through the grocery stores, we're seeing less and less of cultural foods. We have to change that. We do have control of what we grow and what we sell, believe it or not. Reduced food insecurity. I think that is part of the holistic approach with FRED as well, which is another benefit. I think once you have communities coming together, once this digital platform is created and you actually have a central point where it could drop off, pick up, and that could brand out into communities, I think that will also enhance food security as opposed to food insecurity as well. Enhanced transparency. Again, the narrative about where did I buy my raw inputs and the story behind that. And the last one, empowering farmers. You all have a story to tell, and I think it's imperative that you tell those stories. So for me, my role is to work with Claudius and Fred, but to also work those farmers, because at some point I would like to tell your stories through Foodpreneur Lab. Because those who are making the food need to understand the love that goes into growing and understanding the mechanics of growing as well. And so when you look at Fred's pathway, we start with underrepresented farmers, where it connects the farmers who grow and sell organic and culturally diverse foods. And then the platform itself serves as a marketplace, allowing farmers to sell and list. And then the consumer can now discover and purchase a wide variety of organic and culturally grown foods through Fred, increasing health, wellness, and community access. It also creates a community food marketplace. It gives you options between brick and mortar, and it enables more options to source and sell organic and culturally diverse foods. And make no mistake, you know, we talk about culturally diverse food. At the end of the day, I always say food is a great conversation piece. We have difficult conversations around the table. What's in front of us? Food. We have loving conversations. What's in front of us? Food. When you find somebody and you're in love with, what do you want to do? You want to take them to dinner. You want to feed them. You know, when you're sick, what do you want to do? You want to give them food and you want to make them healthy. When they're thin, the only time you don't want to feed them is when they're too big. And even then, that's not an issue depending on who you speak to, okay? So food is really integral to how we show up, how we function, how we think, our mental well-being, our health. And it's so important, and yet we tend to push it off to the side to look at other things. And I really welcome the opportunity to talk about, again, the farmers. I'm sending you flowers because you are so integral to this ecosystem. One of the things I've always said, everybody says tech, 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 and I always say you can't eat tech. You know, I need food. Tech is great, but we need the food as well. And so lastly, on the consumer packaged goods side, we get to support value-added producers in the CPG marketplace, providing access to diverse, high-quality organic food. And if you have time before our session ends, you can see some amazing food products. With those 200 Black food entrepreneurs we've supported, we've developed over 120. One of them is One More Cocoa, who won Oprah's 2023 Favorite Things. One was from Infused Fruit, which won the Canadian Retail Grocery Award, first Black company to ever do that. And so it has never been about ability. I have to keep saying that. It has been about how to create access so we can show up and show out. And nothing has changed from the day I believe that to the day that I'm standing in front of you saying all these things. And so what's the impact and reach of FRED? Well, geographic accessibility, the reach will be 75% because now we can reach more people, we can increase visibility, and we can strengthen local food. The economic accessibility impact will be approximately 60% because it will help bridge the gap between farmers and urban markets, forecast supply and demand, which will be a reduction in waste as well, and streamline operations and fosters collaborations with others. It will also have 85% cultural relevance in terms of its usage, which will revolutionize engagement. Why? It hasn't been done before. And so having said that, it will offer access to markets, which will equal sustainable growth, real-time data, and this is extremely important. The fact that when the farmers put their product on the platform, two things happen. The value-added user can now gauge how much raw inputs they will be purchasing for an entire year, and they can have a better idea of what their inventory inputs look like. On the flip side of that, the farmers can anticipate what that growth will look like, what demand will look like. That is significant because we're not just growing for the idea of just growing. We're growing intentionally now because we know we have silos to fill with regard to demand. And on community engagement, it becomes an invaluable tool for food access for sales, as well as fosters community networks. And I really look forward to that part. And so to recap, the Farming Resource for Equitable Distribution, FRED, offers a comprehensible solution to connect underrepresented farmers to value-added producers, consumers, and communities. My part is just one part on the value-added producers. There's also the consumer aspect and the community aspect. And so as you can see, there's an exponential potential here with having FRED launched. It will also contribute to the reduction of food insecurity and increased community wellness because the access would have been shortened, but the choice broadened for consumers as well. It will also improve accessibility. It will support inclusivity, similar to Foodpreneur Lab, where we represent a very large part of the Black diaspora. You name them, we got them, okay? Ugandan, Nigerian, Jamaican, Trinidadian, yes, we're there, okay? And it fosters equitable and sustainable food systems. And the last part I will have to say is building on Foodpreneur Lab, I've had the honor and having the trust of the Black diaspora. And I can tell you, when we get together and we start working together, we do amazing things. And they have shown up and shown out in that way. And I want to give them their flowers. So thank you, everyone. And I appreciate your time.
So scan the code here. If you want to find more about Foodpreneur Lab. Janice, that was phenomenal.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well done. So does everyone have the scan of that QR code? Okay, beautiful. We're almost there. The food's they're going to be served. It's tempting me, but we have one more speaker before the food, okay? And I want to take this time to introduce the African Canadian Association of Ottawa and Sibyl. Can you please come down? And we'll have it short and sweet, and then we'll take a little break to eat. Okay? So thank you, Sybil. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm sure when they mentioned Sybil, you were looking out for a lady, but I'm not Sybil, I'm Richard. Sybil has an impromptu engagement, so she left. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I like it when I hear about food because I like food and we are coming to eat. So food security is very important. My name is Richard again, and I'm privileged to be the marketing lead for the African Canadian Association because all my life I've been enthused about presentation and marketing. You can have a very fantastic product, but if you don't talk about it and you don't re-echo the value proposition to people, to prospect, nobody knows about it. And then you stay with your ideas or with your service till you pass away. So many people have passed away, unfortunately, but not this great product. Now, this afternoon, three things have been re-echoed throughout all the presentations. I see problems, I see solutions, I see marginalization, and I see possibilities. Predicate on this, the African Canadian Association was brought about to create opportunities, to identify solutions that confront the marginalized community in the Canadian region. And what is the mandate of ACAO? ACAO stands as an umbrella organization for all diasporan communities, Afro-Caribbean, within the Ottawa region. I'm talking about, you can talk about the Ugandan Association, the Ghanaian Association, the Jamaican Association, and almost a lot of umbrella associations. We stand as an umbrella association to all these associations. We do provide possibilities, as I said again, for economic empowerment, social empowerment, even housing empowerment, even sports, right? Because I see the leader for our African hockey project, yeah, here. So we do a lot to bridge the gap between the privileged and then the underserved communities. In going straight to the point of why I'm here today, I'm here to talk about a project that we are currently running. And as you can see around, you see very young, beautiful, dynamic ladies assisting this great company in taking content, in organizing this program. These are our trained volunteers who came as a result of the ACAO Youth Placement Program. What is the ACAO Youth Placement Program? It was brought about because we want to help by giving skills, training, and career placement opportunities, even though they start off as volunteer opportunities, to the youth between the ages of 12 to 30. This program was is fully sponsored by the Canadian Service Corps. So it's a program from the Canadian Service Corps, and ACAO is providing the resources in terms of the personnel for the training. We're also providing all the logistics through the support we are getting from the Canadian Service Corps. So we are actually aiming to train about 270 plus youth in different cohorts. So we have cohort 1, cohort 2, cohort 3, and 4 in the span of 2 years. Currently, as I speak, we have cohort 1 underway, and then under each cohort, we have various trainings which comprises both online and in-person trainings. So we train them across various, on various topics, civics, communication, content creation, a whole lot, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now, what does this program seek to achieve? We want to create a mind of possibility for the youth, putting that in the minds of the youth now, helping them to cultivate the habit of hard work, networking, and of course, seeing themselves in places where it would have been very difficult for them to have actually secured volunteer placement. So these are some of the things that we aim at achieving. We are also aiming to help them to come out from their shells through networking. So when they come, they meet their friends, they talk about things, they make friends, and they identify things that probably they thought they could not do. It is, because it is volunteer-based, we have 120 hours dedicated to each youth to cover. And the 120 hours covers both the training and the actual placement. So we have over 35 hours of training, and then the rest is dedicated to volunteer or service in a period of 1 fiscal year. So we deal with fiscal years. Now, we are currently recruiting for cohort 2 because cohort 1 has started and placement has started, as you can see the volunteers behind. So with the cohort 2, we are aiming to start on the 7th July, and we are entreating the whole community to share this good news with friends and families so that they can also benefit from this amazing program. It's nice. In fact, whenever they come for trainings on some of the Saturdays, they really enjoy. And we coming back to this, they eat good food as well. Yes. So that is very, very important. Participation is free. And then we currently have so many slots available, even though we are almost, at our capacity for cohort 2, but everybody is entitled to benefit from this great initiative. Upon completing the project, they will not just be placed, but they also get the chance to be celebrated. So Canadian Service Corps and ACA would organize something like a graduation ceremony for them. They will also be given or presented certificates of recognition for their participation in the program. If you do not want this for your children, what else do you want? So yes, we are very happy to be here. And then our partners from my AI pathway are doing an amazing job, and we have to support them as partners. And we are thanking them for accepting our volunteers as well. Thank you very much, and long live the great company, and then success to Fred as well. Thank you.
Okay, stepping in for the MC because it's time to eat. It's a bit late. I usually have my dinner around 6, so stomach is rumbling. I actually want to give fantastic compliment to the food we're about to eat. And please get in contact. Let me know what you think about it. The food is been donated by Aisha's Kitchen. Aisha's Kitchen is relatively new. She focuses on catering, special orders, and she's now beginning to work her way through to scale her business. And this was an opportunity for her to actually let us, our taste. She wants to test our taste buds. So please have a taste, enjoy yourself, and let us know what you think about the food. And certainly we work with her to help her. She's also one of the clients of Fred to be able to order her food. But like I said, initially it's more catering and special orders for events, weddings, shower parties, school events, and things like that. But also the one key thing I should say is the reason why I actually went for Aisha's Kitchen is ingredients are fresh. Fresh is what she cooks with. Okay, so let's, without further ado, make our way to actually get some food.
Bon appetit. Thank you so much. So we'll take about a maybe 20-minute break or so, and then we'll come back. So if you're online, you'll have to find your own food. We're going to eat here and have a fabulous time. We'll be back in 20 minutes. So check your clock, 2025, okay? Bon appetit. Okay, hello everyone. Are you all there? Can you all hear me? Raise your hands, you can hear me. Show of hands, say aye. Aye, okay, beautiful. We're gonna take that photo soon, okay? Let me just get through this. Okay, so my name's Colin McLean. I've been doing a lot of talking up here. And, you know, I've got a love of food and love of community. That's why I joined Fred. And one thing I can say, a fun fact, is I placed second in a celebrity men's who can cook competition recently. So, woo! Gotta thank my mom for that. My mom got me into cooking, and ever since I've been on the road of cooking, right? So, I'm just gonna play this. Let me know if you can hear this. We're gonna take that photo soon, okay? Let me just get through this. Okay, so my name's Colin McLean. I've been doing a lot of talking up here, and you know, I've got a love of food and love of community. That's why I joined Fred. And one thing I can say, a fun fact, is I placed second in a celebrity men's who can cook competition recently. So, woo! Gotta thank my mom for that. My mom got me into cooking, and ever since I've been on the road of cooking, right? So, I'm just gonna play this. Let me know if you can hear this. This is about Fred, the app. So, what'd you think? So that was Fred. Thank you. So we've got one eye in the present, the other eye in the future. And there's two parts to Fred. There's the seller, which is the farmer, and there's the buyer, which is the consumer. Bring them together, farm to table. So I'm going to show you the inner workings of Fred. I'm not going into a lot of detail, but this is a high-level overview. And this is what we have to share. So once you log on as a farmer or a seller, you'll get access to it, but not right away, because we want to make sure that we assess you and make sure you're valid. You actually are a farmer. There's no hidden stuff or kind of scams. We are all about an ecosystem of friendliness, love, and food. We want to make sure no one's being messed over. So that's why we're doing 72 hours to really check your application to make sure you are who you are. And then once you're on, it will look something like this. This is like the dashboard of what it looks like. And you'll see the marketplace. We even have on Fred, you as a seller, you can actually see how much sales of stuff you purchased, how much is the inventory, a lot of details. Like these are some stuff that you don't have to do the old way of counting. It's already there, right? And if you wanted to maybe put your goods on Fred, then what you would do is you take a picture of it and upload it to your computer or your phone, and then you would upload it to the Fred app. It's really easy. Just take a picture and then upload it. And then this is the marketplace. This is the community. What I love about this section is we're not just about just selling produce to A and B people, or about building a community. So farmers, you now have the ability to start your own community where you can start connecting directly. If you wanted to maybe do like honey farmers or community for honey people, then that's what you could do. If you wanted to have only Ontario, you could focus only on Ontario. So we're giving you more exposure than you had before. Next is the buyer. Okay, it takes two to dance, and this one here is the buyer's journey. Fred, so we don't have a waiting period or assessment. Once you log on, you can start using it and find the farmers nearest to you. And the first screen when you start, you're given an option, and we're going to be using AI to track stuff and to assist you on that. So if you want to only look for maybe wheat stuff or even gluten stuff, it will target its search directly to what you need. If you want just vegetables, you don't have to scroll through a huge marketplace to find what you need. It can pop up and share stuff with you. So that's the logging on. You got the marketplace right there. You've got searching ability. So if you said, I want to see yams, enter yams. These are the yams coming up closest to your area. This here is your shopping cart. See how much there is. And we're coming from love and community when we built this app. And it's an ecosystem. If you want to scan the QR code on the screen there, you'll be able to find a little bit more about Fred. We've been talking a lot about Fred, but here's where you can find out more detail and have more of an informed decision and discussion. Okay. So next, I'm going to have Green Farms. Before I have Green Farms come up, I want to say, what do you guys think of the meal so far? Fantastic? A round of applause, right? So this is an example of fresh produce, fresh cooking, fresh everything coming your way, and you're tasting it firsthand. So well done, everyone, all right? So next is Emmanuel. Emmanuel, are you there? Come on down, Emmanuel. Just give him a round of applause. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. And it's an honor to be here at the launching of Fred among innovators who are working to redefine agriculture. My name is Emmanuel Fondi. I am founder and manager at Green Focus Farms. We have worked for the past 5 years and have known successes, but we have also known failures. Actually, we have failed in order to make sure that the aspiring farmers who would join us in future do not fail, because we know exactly where the hurdles are and where the loopholes are. So we asked ourselves in the course 5 years ago whether can short cycle African crops thrive in temperate climates like Ottawa, like Toronto, like Calgary, like Gatineau. For short, can African crops thrive in a temperate environment? So today I will get you guys to show to you our scalable blueprint and how we can use franchising to leverage on the work and experience that we have had for the past 5 years at growing a farm, at developing a farm, and particularly generating data, generating information to provide the answers that farmers need when it comes to starting a farm, developing a farm. Going from the unknown is like, we stay here, and if you go into the diversity of African crops, the first question is, how can I get the crop here fresh? You see, we've been discussing, and almost one here is concerned about the health of the food that we eat, the quality of the food that we eat. So one of the questions that we set out to answer was identify those crops that can grow here. Then we realized that the crops that can grow in this environment, we cannot definitely try to say we are going to grow every African crop in the temperate zones. So we proceed by elimination. We know that we can definitely grow the short cycle crops. But which short cycle crops can we grow, and how do we grow the different short cycle crops? So actually, picture a Nigerian family in Montreal or in Ottawa who craves bitter leaf or water leaf because they want to make their bitter leaf soup, or they want to prepare some eru to eat with some fufu. They have very few options. They are either going to the shop to pick up some frozen product that you're not even sure about the whole cold chain process that has kept it from where it was made to the final moment that you pick it from the counter. You're neither sure of the quality or the quality control within the whole process before you had the product here. So they have two options: either get that low quality product that you're not sure of, or you don't eat it at all. But you know, these cravings are such that sometimes you would have to, even if you didn't really trust that product itself. But what we need to realize is that the demand is real. North America's African diaspora spends over $2 billion annually on these crops. Meanwhile, most farmers here, those of us involved in it, sometimes struggle with low profit traditional crops. At Green Focus Farms, we asked ourselves, what if we could grow these crops locally using certified organic methods year-round and profitably? After 5 years of research and development, I would gladly say that we think we have cracked the code. And now we are ready to scale. Our Gatineau pilot farm started as an experiment 5 years ago. Today we have, we grow more than 20 different tropical crops, from waterleaf to njama njama, to bitekuteku, to matembele, to lalo. I mostly would use those names because one thing that I realized as I started trying to grow African vegetables is that there is hardly any way that you can use maybe some of the standard names and then the next person understands or gets what you want to say. There are as many different names as there are African languages, and God alone knows that there are many. So part of the thing that we did is we did move around Africa, identified the most important crops across Nigeria, across Cameroon, generally, let's say from Central Africa, West Africa, East Africa, and to narrow that down to the most important short cycle crops, or specifically vegetables that are more important across from east to west, from south to north. So when we had that, the next step was is to experiment. First, because it would take you close to 2 years to get to know whether you can do any of these crops on a commercial scale. The first year you are just planting, you want to see whether the form of, if you even have the planting material. And then when you have it, you want to plant it, you want to do that first testing. And then the subsequent year, you can now start planting quantities that could be commercial. So we set out to experiment on all of this each year, in and out, experimenting and adding to the number of crops that we have to grow. So today we can comfortably say that we have a listing of more than 20 different African vegetables, which we have tried, tested, and are being produced on commercial scale. So one of the things that I could say that we do in order to achieve this success is getting data, collecting data, doing the trials, collecting data. And our most important achievement is our data-driven blueprint, because the objective behind was not just being able to produce the vegetables, because that we have achieved, but it is saying that what we set to do differently from what most other people do is we wanted to build a pilot. We wanted to build a real practical system that keeps the data, and over years we are able to use that data to build the different protocols, different processes, such that as we are talking today, we are ready to replicate, and we are able to use that replication for scaling up at this moment. So now we are taking this model to the next level, because what we told ourselves is we can produce, we already do, and we sell. If you go online on Green Focus Farms, you could just get that on Google, Green Focus Farms, just as that. You'll be able to see our farms, and you can be able to also order online and receive that even at home. At this moment we are talking, but mostly production for the season will start from June, but we are already making pre-season sales at this moment. So we said the first objective is we want to be able to master production. That we have done. And we have been able to build a blueprint, and we can practically guide you from production, from establishing from the idea of the conception of the idea, of the business idea, working with you to build your business plan, designing your farm, and helping you to to set up the whole production process, and even up to distribution. So if we look at the broader objective that we want to achieve, is not just being able to do that ourselves. Then we're saying we want this to have an outreaching community impact. So we can do it alone and do it well, but I think that if we do it as a community, if we are able to do it together, we can be able to achieve even higher objectives. So the way we want to achieve the scaling is to go through franchising. So what would franchising bring to you as a potential franchisee? We are able to do the business planning with you, help you secure the land, the funding, the very basics from the person who conceives the idea and say, I want to do this. So you can do that with us because it's a process that we have done before. So the other point is farm setup. We can be able to design the greenhouses with you, get the equipment. One of the things you want to do, if you just set out to say, okay, I want a tractor, what dimension, where do you get it? What functionalities, which other implements do you want to attach to it? You will realize that you might have spent $40,000 to buy a tractor when you would maybe have spent $20,000. It would be very late when you would have done that. So we also want to be able to accompany you on the other aspects of infrastructural development. The third aspect would be training. Our playbooks cover the basic ABC of more than 20 African vegetable crop kinds. That is, if you were to say, at what time, first, which crop do you plant? As we are going on, we are also gathering data, gathering market demand. What kind of vegetable do people really want more? If you were to plant, how do you source the seeds? At what time do you plant? Which one? At what density do you plant? And all of that technicality that you have to go with from beginning to end. So you also have that training and that support that comes with you. And most critically, it is the sales. It is the sales. Sorry, I'm going behind instead of in front. Most critically, it is the sales, and that is where Fred comes in. Because Fred is going to help us connect franchisees directly to consumers. One of the things that we noticed as growers is that the grower is so involved in the farm when you're growing, when you are running a farm, because most operations are really time sensitive. So you're 100% focused on the farm. So one of the biggest challenges that you would have is you have to go to the farm in the morning, and then you have to think of distribution, you have to think of marketing. The process when you have finally produced the vegetable for it to reach the consumer is really another person's job. It's a whole domain on its own. All of the marketing, reaching out to the clients, presenting the product, convincing them to understand your product, because even if you have the best product, you need to be able to get the consumer to understand. And that part of it, as a farmer, I know that is one of the things that is difficult for a farmer to do. So Fred comes just in time to fill that gap, to sort the problem so that the farmer can focus on what he does best. And I think that most people who become farmers, from my experience, if it's not something that I really liked doing, I will not be doing it. You would not attend 5 years doing it, because you definitely would have left it 2 or 3 years before. It can be challenging, it's difficult, but for me personally, it's just like another football game. So, but the other part there had been times that we produce and we had the produce on hand, and we are convinced and we know that, because people are so excited when they come to the farm, they see this and they say, oh, God bless you, because this is so wonderful. But they have that. Those people are maybe in Ottawa here. Probably many people here would be hearing about Green Focus Farms. It's probably the first time. but it's been existing for 5 years. It's taken Fred to come up and just with the click of the finger, and it's going to go like wildfire probably. So it's another person's job. So Fred is coming in to bridge that gap and help farmers to do their job, to do what they can do best, so that those who are really want to do agriculture can focus, want to do farming can focus on farming. And I did, I might forget her name, I don't know why, Sylvia, I could have missed, that talked about the food processing system and all of that. Sometimes, you know, like, exactly, thank you. So it's like we are producing, but we are also isolated. You know, everybody is doing his thing in his corner. I've been for a couple of years trying to say that sometimes we produce some vegetables, we just need to slice some and package in a specific way and get it presentable. We want it to look good, we want it to be well preserved. But that's a whole food processing part of it. If you set out to find out where can I have a kitchen that is certified, you could have made the next 6 months, you don't get where you can even do which thing or the other. So creating this avenue for us to meet, to talk, and then maybe something that you've been looking for 1 year, 2 years, and within a short conversation, you can catch 1 or 2 persons. So it's really a wonderful initiative. So I would say that what next for us? We are launching our first franchisees in the next 12 months. And we want to involve farmers, and particularly to say that this is a chance for those who want to be farmers to join us. We want to also call on investors to say that investors could help us. In the next 12 months, we want to launch a first cohort of franchises, of 10 franchises to go with. And then also call on investors to help us scale and to attain an objective of 100 plus farmers spread around different cities. And for users to also say that Fred is the best opportunity to have fresh, organic or well-sourced vegetables for you at home. So our objective is develop the franchise, get it going within 12 months, recruit the first cohort of 10 growers, and create farms in different cities around North America, but not just there. It's a process, it's a model that we develop that we intend to expand from Canada first, probably Canada, US, but it could go beyond that. Together we can build a future where African crops grow in your backyard, where farmers thrive and communities eat healthy, fresh African vegetables that have been passed down to us by our ancestors through millennia. I think that we can make that happen. I want to thank Claudius for creating this avenue, and the entire group behind the Fred for creating this avenue for us. I also want to thank Shakib of Group 3737, the different people who are always accompanying farmers. Most of the time, I have different community development actors who pull us out of the farm. They practically pull us by the horn to get us to join them and to do some of the things that to be able to do better what we are doing. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Beautiful. Okay. Who here feels supported? All right. Perfect. So now, I won't be waiting for the keynote speech. Now, what I love about Reverend Dr. Paul McPhail is that he's definitely a comedian. Fun fact, he tells everyone that he's 16, years old, but he's finding it harder to sell it these days. I personally think he's 17. So it's like your inner child really comes out. He lives by his inner child, and you're definitely amazing. Pastor, you can please come up and take the floor. Okay, give him a round of applause. Feel supported.
Just to help you, I'm 16.
16, okay, 16.
Good evening. It's a privilege to be with you this evening. You've had all kinds of information shared with you. So as the keynote address, I'm going to try and pull some of it together. Some of us pray this prayer: give us this day our daily bread. And I think that Fred is an answer to that prayer. We've heard a number of different systems. I've talked to people that are here from banking, finance. I've talked to people that are involved in real estate. I've talked to people that want to get into farming. And I believe that some of the answers are right here in this room. It is important that you be aware of that. When I talk about food insecurity in Canada, we need to be aware that it is rising. One year it rose 18% over the previous year. There are many reasons for food insecurity. We've heard about African Black and the food there, but we need to be aware of Indigenous. We need to be aware of the differences between North American Black, Caribbean Black, East Africa, West Africa, Central Africa. We need to be aware that within Chatham-Kent, we have what is called a food bank. You have it here in Ottawa as well. NeighborLink, we have 33 churches that are cooperating. We're feeding the hungry, but it's not meeting the need. We need to look at poverty. We need to look at food insecurity. We certainly talk about rising cost of living. We talk about income instability. There are all kinds of system issues that I could identify as well. Indigenous people, I'll pick on them because I don't know that they're represented here, but they may be watching us. There are all kinds of system barriers, and each of you can identify some of the system barriers that you've encountered. I've had the privilege of talking to people in banking, and I pointed out some of the system barriers regarding real estate, buying your farm, 25 acres, 50 acres, 300 acres, whatever that may be, limited access, so creative financing. We have people here from a credit union, from a bank. Each of them have different profiles, portfolios that they will follow. It's important that you understand that when you start to talk to them about it. We need to talk about some of the inequity. I recognize that as a Caucasian, I'm speaking to individuals perhaps of color, and we need to be aware that there are inequities. And how can you overcome that? And I'm here to tell you that you can overcome them. We have been able to see that happen in my lifetime. My grandfather was a farmer, the handicraft era. So I'm 2 generations away from it here in Canada. Some of you are the first generation now saying, I'm bucking against the stream and I want to be able to address this as far as food being available to our people. We've also talked about the social network, the culture. I've had the opportunity of traveling across Canada, over 500 different congregations, some of them culturally based. And so they would place their food in front of me, and I had the opportunity of eating it. One of my favorite, Jib Cree up at Red Lake. The table was spread with all kinds of vegetables and meat. And Mrs. Beardy came and brought a berry pie and set it in front of me. I've been taught to eat my vegetables first, but I had a berry pie, and she was honoring me by doing that. Whatever our culture may be, we are able to strengthen our culture. We're able to teach that next generation that this was important to us. We all go home to get mom's cooking or grandma's cooking. Why not share that with the next generation? I was born in a house where I had 1 brother. So my mother insisted every other Saturday that I had to bake pies, cakes, butter tarts. You can do that with your family. Take them out and show them this is what is important to us as a family. You need to be aware that there are all kinds of charities that are involved. I've spent a lifetime in ministry, but I'm fully aware I lead NeighborLink in Chatham, 33 churches. We feed the hungry. We have wraparound for those that are having issues in their family. We do budgeting training. We help with food preparation. All of these things may be part of Fred, where you simply say, this is what is of value to you, and this is how you're able to share it with the next generation. I believe that we need to be promoting food security. I know where my next meal is coming from, but I don't have to travel very far to encounter people that don't know where their next meal is going to come from. You can help. You've heard the plan. You need to prioritize food security. Now, when I look at children, I love children. I love developmental psychology. But I look at children, and I'm fully aware that they need to experience good food. It accounts for their development intellectually, emotionally. We also need to be honest with each other and talk about some of the system issues. I can name parts of the city where real estate is not appreciating in value like other parts of the city. I can name certain groups that have difficulty in getting financing. So we may need to do some creative financing. I talked to someone from a credit union. I used the example of a church that applied for financing. 5 times they were rejected until a credit union stepped up and gave them the financing that they needed to build the new church. Someone talked about Colonel Sanders. Did you realize that he was a senior when he started to sell this recipe? Did you realize that he made 1,500 presentations, and each time he was told no? It was 1,006th time that finally someone bought his recipe, and we eat Colonel Sanders Kentucky Fried Chicken all over the world. You and I understand no, N-O. You have heard the recipe in Fred this evening so that you can overcome some of those no's and see success. It is important that you pass it on to the next generation. So when I talk to African Blacks, I've eaten some of your food, I've enjoyed it. Food is sovereign. We need to be aware of how important it is. Let's make sure that food is available. Now, when I look at Canada, the majority of our people live within 100 kilometers of the American border. I travel from coast to coast. But I can take you up into the Arctic as well. It is important that we be aware that as you take the recipes from Fred here this evening and start to apply it, that you apply this not only to one group. I had a goat herd. I sold goats to Jamaicans, but then I found out that the Portuguese also wanted goats. And I started to spread my market. So once again, being aware that perhaps there's something that is important to you that others may benefit from. Let's deal with food. Let's deal with justice. Let's combat food insecurity. Let's look at the multifaceted need that we have and reach out and expand it. I also believe in dealing with such things as minimum wage, welfare income, social programs, affordable housing, small farmers. I used the example of 25 acres, but I have people with 4 acres, 5 acres, growing the vegetables that they need for their household. I had a bag, a brown bag of green onions left on my front step before I left home this morning, yesterday. Once again, it came out of a small plot of ground. So small-scale farmers, gardeners, train them, market, And then, of course, be aware of some of your climate smart crops. From our last presentation, we heard about that. You need to be aware that also greenhouse operations. I've had a greenhouse. I've had a farm with vegetables. I've had livestock. I understand all of that area. I've administered that. You may not look at me as a farmer, but that's what I've been able to do. The other part is to look at food waste. In southwestern Ontario, they go through and they reap the potatoes, the tomatoes, the carrots. And left behind are seconds. Left behind is enough to feed all kinds of people. You and I need to be aware when people are in those large operations, perhaps 3,000 acres, that there may be 20 or 30% of vegetables that are left behind that you may be able to use. So let's educate. Let's share the knowledge. Let's look at such things as a goat herd, chickens and eggs. In West Africa, we're expanding our egg production, and that provides income. When we look at innovative technology, there's all kinds of technology that's being developed, from the little old Ford tractor that we used to run back in the 50s to now the multi-million-dollar operations that we have. So precise planting, crop rotation, smart irrigation. I saw where one was talking about 90%. Well, if I go to Israel, all of their water use is over 90%. They constantly are reusing the water. So let's digitize our supply chain, AI, start to reduce the waste, be more efficient, start to analyze what crops have been grown here in Gatineau or Ottawa or down in southwestern Ontario. Or just before I came into the meeting this evening, I talked to a person out of Saskatchewan. What can that person from Africa do in Saskatchewan? So long-term food security, better health through training and mentoring. And then, of course, I believe that God will bless you as you meet these needs. Let me tell you a little story about an Indigenous fellow. He's prominent in his community. Took his mother to a restaurant in town, and he ordered buffalo wings. They brought the plate of buffalo wings to him, and he smelled it and looked at it and didn't like it, sent it back. The second plate came, and finally his mother, who is an Indigenous lady, said, "You realize that it's chicken." You can laugh at that one. It is chicken. You need to be aware of how people may look at things and feel it's something other than it really is. When I was 5 years of age, I was here in Ottawa at a Sunday school rally, and they asked me to tell a story. And the story that I told was of 5,000 people that were gathered in a wilderness, plus women and children, and how bread and fish was broken, blessed, and multiplied. And 5,000, perhaps 5,000 wives, 5,000 children, 15,000 in that wilderness were fed. Bread is trying to do that in Canada. We're trying to multiply. We're asking that God bless. I believe that his gift of substance in the wilderness is a sign that God reigns. I know that we have different faith groups here this evening, but we believe together that we can address the needs, social needs in Canada. Fred, I pray for God's blessing. I pray that you will take the nuggets and apply it. And as you pray for your daily bread, that your needs will be supplied. Thank you for listening to me.
Yeah, 16. Fabulous. That's great information from a 16-year-old. I like that. So we're gonna end up real soon. Claudius, you wanna come down, but who here is enjoying themselves, fun, informative. We're almost done at the end of the road, but we're starting a new journey. Claudius, you're there? Come on down. Give him a round of applause. Okay, cool.
Everybody's awake. Wow, we've eaten all that food late to the end of the day and we're awake. I think we've got some fantastic messages. I mean, I'm blown. I am seriously blown by what I've heard. Wow, I'm totally inspired. I wanted to do this to end the day, just to give an idea of what we're going to be thinking about, okay? What we launched in today is an MVP, a minimum viable product. It works. But what is the future? The future is AI. Fred is going to be AI, artificial intelligence, AI. It's going to be driven. Why? Everybody uses smart technology. Okay. I make one joke that at some point, when I mentor and talk to young folks, with any interest in science, as I chase a career in orthopedic science, because we're going to come the moment where necks is going to be an issue, because everybody's walking like this. There's going to be neck and back problems. It's very real. So why AI? The technology, we're not going to tell people not to use your phones, but with the world growing and using their phones, the smartphone, smart technology, the opportunity to solve any problem is to look at the user experience. How can you enhance the user experience to actually bring the consumers, the producers, the investors to go to your platform for a reason, for a purpose? You have to enhance that user experience. Things like, so I'm saying user experience with enhance it with artificial intelligence features, make it respect culture. We've heard a lot of the words. It's got to be ethical. It's got to respect privacy. Actually, in my AI research and everything, I've come up with 8 components that I say must be respected for anything to be considered artificial intelligence, in my opinion. Fred will continue to deliver local, sustainable, and clean technology. I'm introducing clean for the first time. Janice did earlier. Clean in the sense that if we have farmers spread across doing farm to table up to 50 to 75 kilometers distance, we actually contribute to the government's target of 0 emission. Farm to table local, not huge lorries coming from far with bad food. And the user experience has to be designed so that the user is engaged. I didn't want to do this, but I think the audience is so engaged, I'm going to give a little snippet, some of the things we have in mind. Some of the targets that we'll be using, Fred, are what's called the Gen Zs, the millennials, let's say young family with young parents with young kids, preschool, getting ready to go to school. What if mom, dad say, oh, come, let's order a vegetable, and you're gonna get your phone or tablet, and you start to play a game where the kid learns colors, math, things. And then once you fill up the basket, you send it to the producer, delivers. That's engagement, that's user experience that brings them to Fred. That's the only place to purchase. So I've come up with this terminology, the Fredverse. That's going to be our AI. Have to, I've already applied for the IP, so don't go there. So the Fredverse is going to focus on 3 areas. R&D. Thank you, Pastor Paul, for mentioning a lot about information. Janice also. And the idea is that Fred is going to, and also Emmanuel, your presentation was fantastic because the Fredverse is going to be about creating that back-end information to be able to provide information. Okay? Dr. Grant is here. I'm very, very pleased that Dr. Gerald Grant is here from Carleton University. And I'm going to be on his case with this one. No escape. So R&D is going to be a huge component to actually develop and create our own algorithms. I mean, Emmanuel, the comment that you made, I sat there thinking, did you read my script? Because you named all those funny names. I was born in Africa, but they're funny names, okay? Somebody said to me, jute leaves. I don't know it as jute leaves where I come from. But with Fred, oh, okay, what's the alternate name? What's the name in Sierra Leone? Boom. How is it used in South Africa? Bang. That's what we're going to be using AI. Okay? The Fredverse will have a social impact. We've got to generate wealth, bringing in more farmers as Manufondi looks to expand his operation. That's bringing in through franchise. That's bringing in new businesses, new opportunities, new farmers. The taxi driver that drove me here will instead become, will have an opportunity to have his own farm. Creating new jobs, the effect on climate change. And thirdly, our impact on community, where we collaborate and build ecosystem partners, food producers, farmers, logistics companies, all part of the ecosystems, financiers, agricultural land owners, tax. I'm heavy on tax advisory. Okay? Fred has a dashboard of what is your best-selling produce? What is your profit margin? Automatic, as you sell it, it gives you that. That information needs to go to your accountant to help you plan your financial future. The ecosystem in the Fredverse has been repeated. I'm so happy that there is a consistency that the different presenters, without collaboration, we've all actually settled on the same 3 pillars: the producers, the consumers, and the investors. Very clear, very consistent. We need investors to actually help make more land available to grow food. Fredverse, AI, is nothing without people. Our own people, the people in the ecosystem, the people in the learning, it's all about people. There's been some arguments and comments going on, and I heard it again today in more detail on the radio. People trying to promote that AI is going to replace teachers. And I've actually put it on LinkedIn myself for the saying, arguing against it. It's all about people. Thank you.
So who here feels more informed about Fred? Good? Woohoo? Okay, excellent. Now, I'm a stickler for time, those who know me, and I said we're going to end by 9 o'clock was what I was pushing for. What time is it now? Bingo, 8:54, okay? So you have a few minutes left back in your lives. I hope you enjoyed it. My call to action is scan this to find out more about Fred in the marketplace, and please bring Fred into your home from farm to table. Thank you all. Have a good night. You've all been amazing. Take care.